Ah, there you are. Pull up a chair by the fireside. I'm going to tell you a story, but it's not for the faint of heart. My name is Julia Norton, and you're listening to Dark and Twisty Tales, a weekly telling of the lesser-known and more grisly folk stories and fairy tales. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. Jorinda and Joringel. Once upon a time, there was an ancient castle in the middle of a deep forest where an old woman lived all by herself. She was a powerful witch. Every day she turned herself into a cat or an owl, and every evening she turned herself back into her human form. She knew how to capture birds and other game, which she would slaughter and then roast and eat. If any man came within 100 steps of the castle, she would cast a spell over him, making him unable to move until she freed him. If an innocent girl came that close, however, the old woman would change her into a bird and force her into a wicker basket. Then she would carry the basket up to a room in the castle where she kept more than 7,000 other birds of this kind. Now, at that time, there was a girl called Jorinda, who people said was the most beautiful girl in the whole kingdom. She was betrothed to a handsome boy called Joringel. It wasn't long before their marriage, and they loved nothing more than to be in each other's company. One afternoon they wanted to be alone, so they went for a walk in the forest. "We must be careful not to get too close to the castle," Joringel said. It was a lovely evening. The sun shone warmly on the tree trunks against the dark green of the deep woods, and the turtle doves cooed mournfully in the old beech trees. From time to time Jorinda wept, though she didn't know why. She sat down in the sunlight and sighed, and Joringel sighed too. They felt as sad as if they were close to death. In the intensity of their emotions, they lost track of where they were and couldn't find their way home. When the sun had not quite set, when it was half below and half above the mountains, Joringel, searching for the right path, parted the leaves of a bush and saw the wall of the castle only a few yards away. It was such a shock that he nearly fainted. In the same moment, he heard Jorinda beginning to sing. "My little bird with a red, red ring, sorrow, 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 sing. My sweet bird with the ring so red, the lovely turtle dove is..." But she couldn't complete the verse. Instead, Joringel heard a nightingale pouring out its song, and he saw to his horror that there was indeed a nightingale perching on a branch just where Jorinda had been standing. Not only that, but a night owl with glowing eyes was flying around her. It flew around 3 times, crying, "Too, too, too!" And Joringel himself had been turned to stone. He couldn't move, couldn't cry out, couldn't even blink. It was almost dark by then. The owl flew into a bush and he lost sight of it. But then the leaves rustled and out came a bent old woman, haggard and yellow, with blood-red eyes and a crooked nose whose tip almost touched her chin. Mumbling to herself, she snatched the nightingale from the branch and carried it away. And Joringel couldn't cry out, couldn't move a muscle. The nightingale was gone. Before long, the old woman came back empty-handed. In a cracked old voice she said, "When the moon shines into the basket, Zakiel, set him free." And in that moment, Joringel felt his limbs loosen, and he was able to move again. He flung himself to his knees before the old woman and cried, "Oh, please give me back my Jorinda." "Never," said the witch. "You'll never get her back." He pleaded, he cried aloud, he wept, but nothing would change her mind. She didn't stop to listen, but left him crying. "Oh, what's to become of me? Oh, no!" He left the castle and made his way to a village where he wasn't known. There he found work as a shepherd, which kept him there for a long time. He often went back to gaze at the castle, but he never went close. One night he had a strange dream. He dreamed he had found a beautiful red flower with a pearl nesting in its petals. In the dream he plucked the flower and took it to the castle, where he could open every door and every wicker bird cage just by touching it with the flower. And he managed to free his Jorinda. When he woke up next morning, he set off at once to find the flower from his dream. He searched for 8 days, and on the 9th he found a flower as red as blood, with a dewdrop among its petals, as large as the finest pearl. He plucked the flower with the greatest care, and set off for the castle. As he passed within the magic circle, he felt nothing stopping him. He was able to move without hindrance as far as the gate. Encouraged by that, Joringel touched the flower to the gate, which immediately sprang open. He went in and stood in the dismal courtyard, listening for the sound of the birds. It wasn't hard to hear. He followed the sound of their singing and soon found himself in the great room, where they were all kept in their 7,000 baskets. The witch was feeding them at that moment, and when Joringel came in, she stopped and turned to him, spitting and screaming with anger. Her curses were appalling, and she spat gall and venom from her wicked lips. But nothing touched him, and she couldn't get close enough to scratch him with her claw-like nails. He took no notice, but went on freeing the birds one after another, wondering how in the world he would find his Jorinda among so many. But then he noticed that the old woman had taken one basket down and was making for the door. He leapt across the room and touched the basket with the flower, and it flew open. And he touched the witch with the flower as well, and all her powers fell away. And there was Jorinda, as beautiful as ever, and she threw her arms around his neck and hugged him tight. He released all the other birds, and then Joringel and Jorinda went home, where they were soon married, and they lived together happily for many years. Thank you for listening to Dark and Twisty Tales. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can also get more information about me, Julia Norton, at julianorton.com. So, until the next time, bye.